there was floated around that Suge Knight was involved.
Right.
And so Cooper and myself, we had gone to, well, of course you can't get to Suge because he was incarcerated.
Right.
So went to the law office, his attorney, very fancy.
And this is David Kinner.
David Kinner.
People recognize that name.
Yeah. Didn't shake hands because it would never get the slime off. And we learned nothing, basically.
Of course.
It was as expected, but at least we wanted to gain access to go to talk to Suge, and it wasn't going to happen. So,
wow.
Okay. So that was the end of that. But his name did come up. And then the other person that came up was the moniker of, I think was that one Poochie?
Yeah, Poochie.
His moniker came up. And this is going towards, we're approaching the 60 days type, when I was telling you that 60-day cutoff for the,
right.
Where you have to write a report summarizing what you know so far. And so we were getting close. Okay, we got Sean Combs, we got Suge Knight, we got this guy Poochie, we got an Impala, but whether it's the Impala, we don't know yet. We'll find out. All these things are falling into place, and we said we're making progress. And I think it was right around that time everything got yanked.
Right.
It was. I laugh about it only because I don't want to be dropping the F-bombs here and there, but it was because of that. Everything got yanked, and it's like, why? I even told my wife, I said, we're not far from this one. We're getting close.
Yeah.
And people are getting nervous, and people are starting to talk and loose lips, and they want to. They're not that they want to help, but they have no choice but to help, type of thing. They want a deal. They're spinning their wheels in prison, and they want to talk. So we're close to getting this case solved, and it didn't matter who the victim is. We're going to solve it. So then it was pulled away.
So RHD eventually took over the Biggie Smalls murder investigation, but initially it was LAPD's Wilshire Division, where you were a homicide detective, that first caught the case because it was in their area.
Yes.
Where it happened.
Right.
Right. And in my opinion, not just because I'm interviewing you right now, but I thought you guys did the best, most thorough work, far more than RHD did. But also there kind of wasn't much left for RHD to do because you guys I feel like you just had done everything.
No, you're right. We had the case for, I think, almost 60 days. Because you're given some 60 days to kind of make headway. Sure. And at that point, you should say, we're going in this direction because we're identifying people, or I don't know what to do, type of thing. Really.
Right.
And you have to write a 60-day report to give a progress report for the Bureau. So we were reaching that, and we were making good headway. I would think that, and I even expressed that to my wife and other people that at the time, I would say, it's coming along really well. I think we're going to have identify who the guy is. We have possibles, and I think we can wrap this up in another maybe month, maybe less.
Sure.
And we come to work Monday morning, and Ray Futami and Lieutenant Moen, they were there, and they said that we had called us into the room, all of us. The detective says, "Get all your notes together, all your and robbery homicide is going to take the case." And since I was the type that would express my opinion right away, and I did, I was very upset, very pissed, and not holding back. And I said, and Kelly was there, of course, and so was
Kelly Cooper,
the other detectives involved in that. And it was like, this is BS. This isn't right. I said, first of all, robbery homicide does a great job when they have their own cases and they build on those cases. They don't do such a great job if they assume a case and try to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, start from day one. So Ray said, there's nothing we can do. And Ross said, there's nothing, the chief's office. And that's what he said, the chief's office said. And that would be Bernie Parks. Right. So we went back to our desks. I was pissed off at everybody in the world. So we got our notes together, and then Kelly Cooper, we were told that Cooper was going to be on loan to RHD, but he said, get your notes together because 2 detectives are coming tomorrow, and they're going to brief, Kelly's going to brief them on the case.
Yeah.
And that was, it was Russell, I think Poole and Miller.
Yeah.
I think those 2 guys.
Yeah, Russell Poole and Fred Miller, his senior partner.
They came to the station, and I had seen him before, and Miller, I think I encountered him when they were doing the, I don't know, when I worked Central. I think he was one of the partners of John St. John. If you're familiar with John St. John.
No.
His badge number is 1. Detective badge number 1. Look him up.
Wow.
And I had the pleasure of meeting him. He was the detective.
Wow.
And he would roll out on calls at 60 years plus when they had a I don't mean to go off, but they were having murders in Central. The prostitutes were getting murdered throughout the city. And we had my partner working morning watch patrol. We had this prostitute, the radio call that she was assaulted, and we got there and she was frantic and upset and everything, and this guy tried to strangle her and kill her. And she described him as possibly, the same type of description as what's been going on. So when we took her to the station, I talked to the watch commander, which I believe was Jack Hoare, detective. He was our sergeant, and he contacted robbery homicide. And this is like 2 a.m. type of thing, and we don't expect. We know who John St. John is because we've seen him before. And here at almost 3 o'clock in the morning, here's John St. John, and I think it was Miller was his partner.
Wow.
They came in, we met with them, and then he talked to the woman, and that was done. We're done with that. But he badge number 1.
So he was the first person to be a dedicated homicide detective to have that.
To have badge number 1, I think he was.
Right?
He was there. That's how we always see he's number 1, the detective.
Wow.
And I got to see it and hold his badge. That was awesome. A shortstop bar. If you're not familiar.
I know
with
shortstop.
Okay, the shortstop back in the day.
Back when it was still a cop bar.
Yeah. He. That was. We didn't have cameras at the time, phone cameras, so we couldn't take a picture. But that was an honor. But that's another story.
Michael Conley's early Bosch books, the shortstop bar is a regular appearance in the books.
Yeah.
That's great. So,
going back to this case here.
So let's go through let's finish the thought of RHD taking over the case, and I want to go back to the beginning of it with
Okay.
you. So from there on, it goes off to RHD, it goes off to Fred Miller and Russell Poole.
Right.
And I can tell you, looking at the chronological records of you guys, what you'd done and what they had done, you just see an immediate slowdown in progress, but you can also see they don't know what else to do. If you look, you've already interviewed witnesses some more than once, some 3 times already.
Yeah.
So they're trying to go back and re-interview. What are they going to get out of somebody that's already been interviewed 2 or 3 times? And now the witnesses are getting upset because they're like, you're badgering me. I don't want to talk. I've already talked to you guys. Like, I don't have anything else to say anymore.
Yeah. Russell was, he was an 81 class, through our class. I was 381. I think he was a 181 class, so he was 2 months ahead of me. So I would see him throughout the career, and I saw him after this when they took the case. I either ran into him at court or somewhere, and he's just flat out says, "I don't know why we got this case. You guys are doing the job."
Right.
And I said, "That's exactly what I said. Why are we losing? And I said, he just shook his head and says, "Came from the chief's office, right?" And I said, "Yeah, that's right." I said, "That's where it is."